Hey everybody, it's Teresa. Welcome to my channel. I'm going to make a necklace and a pair of earrings today, and I'm going to use some of the beads and findings that came in the most recent Potomac Beads subscription box, the Treasure Edition. I'll put a link in the corner of this video and in the description box below to the unboxing I did for this box in case you want to check that out, where I go into a little bit more detail about the beads and the subscription and all. But just briefly, this is the Treasure Edition. They also have a kit edition. I think in that one you get 2 to 3 kits each month, and you get everything in each kit that you need to make whatever the piece of jewelry is. But this is the Treasure Edition. I do have a link that they gave me that I'll put in the description box below that you can click on, and it'll take you directly to the subscription page where it tells all about the subscriptions and what the cost is and how it works and everything. I think I said in the last video that I did, if you got the box, you might have got some different colors of beads than I did. I think the beads will all be the same. Like everybody will get these are 8mm check rounds, and I think everybody will get 8mm check rounds, but they might not all be. Mine are yellow, and everybody's might not be the same color. So I think the colors will vary, but you'll get the same beads, and all the colors will coordinate really well. These are the 8mm check glass rounds that came in the box, and there's some bead caps from my stash in there. These are the check glass sunset flowers. They're 10mm. These are some spacers that I had from where I used to be subscribed to their box many years ago that I'm going to use. In here I've got some 2mm tanzanite colored fire polish beads and some pink 4mm bicone beads. If you still have the 4mm Potomac pink little Potomac pearls and the 4mm tanzanite bicones that were in the box, they would work fine here. I just don't have any of them left because I used them all up in that first bracelet that I made. But they would work fine here if you still have those. This is going to be my focal part, so it's one of the flowers and one of the 8mm rounds. I've got an 8mm jump ring in there, a couple of the spacer beads, a couple of my 4mm bicones, a couple of my little tanzanite fire polish beads, a couple of bead caps in there. In here I've got some findings. I've got a lobster clasp, some of the oval jump rings that came in the box, some of the chain that came in the box. I've got an 8mm jump ring in there for my lobster to clasp onto. I've got some extender chain. I've got a ball head pin and one of my little 4mm bicones that I'm going to hang off the extender chain as an angle. I've got 4 2x2 crimp tubes and 4 wire guardians in there. And here is what I'm using for my earrings. I've got a couple of 8mm check rounds, a couple of the flowers, four of my little 4mm bicones, 4 of my 2mm fire polish beads, some bead caps from my stash, a couple of the head pins that came in the box, and I have a couple of lever back ear wires that I'm going to use. And then I've got a couple of pieces of 22 gauge German style wire that I'm going to use in the earrings. And then I have the rest of the chain that came in the box. I'm going to need just a little bit at the focal area, and I don't know how much, but that's what that is that came in the box. I've got my soft flex beading wire and fine. This is 21 strand and it's in satin silver, but you can use whatever bead stringing wire you have. It doesn't have to be soft flex or silver or anything. It can be whatever you have. I've got my bead stoppers. I've got my chain nose pliers and my tweezer pliers. Got both pairs of my bent chain nose pliers. Got both pairs of my crimping pliers. I use these to crimp with, and I use these, the little circular part at the end there, to tuck in the burr that's left when I cut off the wire. I've got my round nose pliers, and I have both pairs of my cutters. I use one pair for bead stringing wire and the other pair for craft wire and head pins and eye pins. And I have my little New Orleans shot glass to put my wires in when I cut them off. I think that's everything. As many as I can find, I'll post links to all this stuff in the description box below. So hold on a second, I'll get some of my beads poured out and I'll be back. Okay, I'm going to start now by making my focal. So I've got one of the head pins that came in the box. I'm going to put my flower on and one of my spacers and a bicone. I had 2 bicones in my little dish there. I was going to put a bicone at each end, and then I decided I didn't want to. So now I'm going to take my pliers, go to the very tip of the pliers, bend over at a 90-degree angle, take my round nose pliers and put them in the crook of the bend, round nose pliers facing me, bend the wire back until it hits the bead, rotate the pliers till they're facing the table, hold on tight and take this part up and under here until it hits the bottom of the tool, cock the wire back until the loop is centered over the bead. Now I'm going to open my loop and take my chain that I have not cut off any of yet, because I don't know how much I want to cut off, and put it on here. Then I'm going to close my loop, take my bent chain nose pliers, hold on to my loop. I'll hold really tight so the loop doesn't get out of shape or try to move around while you're doing this. I'm going to take my other bent chain nose pliers and start wrapping here. I'm just going to keep wrapping until there's no more room to wrap. I'm going to take my cutters, cut off my extra wire, and I just did what you should never do. I cut that without holding on to it. You don't ever want to do that because it can fly and hit you in the eye. So don't do as I do. Do as I say. Do not do not do that. Always hold on to it. I'm going to take the part here at the end of these that just has a little half circle on each end, and I'm going to tuck in the little burr that was left where I cut off the wire that went flying. Loop does not seem to be nice and straight, so I'm going to straighten it up there a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to take my other head pin, one of my 2mm tanzanite beads, bead cap, 8mm bead, bead cap, tanzanite 2mm bead. I'm going to take my pliers and go to the tip of the pliers, bend over at a 90-degree angle, around those pliers in the crook of the bend, round those pliers facing me, bend the wire back till it hits the bead, rotate the pliers till they're facing the table, hold on tight and take this part up and under here until it hits the bottom of the tool, cock the loop back until cock the wire back until the loop is centered over the bead. I'm going to open this loop, and I'm going to go all the way to the other end of my chain that I have not yet cut and put it on there. I'm going to close my loop, take my bent chain nose pliers, hold on to my loop, my other pair of bent chain nose pliers, start wrapping. Always try to get that first wrap good and tight. Just wrap till there's no more room to wrap. And take my cutters, and I am going to hold on to this piece of wire and cut off my extra wire. Take my crimping pliers, tuck in my little burr. You gotta be careful when you do this because you could crack that little 4mm bead there at the top. Okay. Now, the reason that I have not cut my chain yet is because I want to see where I want this to hang. I want my little flower to hang lower than my round bead. So, and then I'm going to put them both on this jump ring. So, I think I'm going to cut this chain about here. This chain probably about here. These cutters are not very sharp at all. Okay. Now I'm going to take my 8mm jump ring. I'm going to thread on this one. And I'm going to thread on this one. Close it back. That's going to be a little focal part there. So now I'm going to get my beads together, and the rest of it's going to be stringing. So I'm going to get my beads together to string up one side, and then I'll be back. Okay, now I'm going to string up one side of my necklace. And this is going to be an asymmetrical necklace. I'm going to do a bicone, a spacer bead, flower, spacer bead, bicone, $2mm fire polish bead, bead cap, 8mm bead, bead cap, fire polish bead, bicone, fire polish bead, bead cap, 8mm bead, bead cap, fire polish bead, bicone, polished bead, bead cap, 8mm bead, bead cap, fire polish bead, 4mm back cone, fire polish bead, bead cap, 8mm bead, bead cap, fire polish bead, spacer bead, back cone, spacer bead, flower, spacer bead, back cone, spacer bead, flower, spacer bead, back cone, spacer bead, flower, spacer bead, and a back cone. That's going to be one side of my necklace. So I'm going to cut this off here. Now I'll get my stuff together and string up the other side. Hold on. Okay, now I'm going to string my other side. I think I might be zoomed in too much. Now I'm going to do a back cone, a spacer bead, 2mm fire polish bead, bead cap, 8mm bead, bead cap, fire polish bead, spacer bead, back cone, spacer bead, flower, spacer bead, back cone, spacer bead, flower, spacer bead, back cone, spacer bead, flower, spacer bead that there should be in here and I don't see it. There it is. Back home. Fire polish. Bead cap. 8mm. Bead cap. Fire polish. Back home. Fire polish. Bead cap. 8mm. Bead cap. Fire polish. $4mm back home. Fire polish. Bead cap. 8mm. Bead cap. Fire polish. $4mm back home. Fire polish. Bead cap. 8mm. Bead cap. Fire polish. And a back home. That's what I've got for my second strand, and I don't know if y'all noticed, but I found my other bead cap, or bead stopper. I had lost one of my bead stoppers, but I found it. I knew it was on this desk somewhere. I just couldn't find it. So this is what my two strands are going to be, and I had a lady comment one time when I did an asymmetrical necklace, and she said she wished that I would show how I construct an asymmetrical necklace. This is not nearly as random and asymmetrical as I do sometimes. Really, all I've done here is just flipped it. I've got the yellow beads down here and the flowers up here and the flowers down here and the yellow beads up here, and then I had one left of each, so I just put them at the top on either side. Whenever I do another really random one, I will try to explain it too, but this one is really just all I've done is flipped it. So now I'm going to get my crimp beads together and my wire guards, and I'll crimp one of them, and then I'll do the other one off camera. So I'll be back in a second. Okay, now I'm going to crimp one of them. I'll put my crimp bead on here and my wire guardian. I'm going to go down, well, I attach my bead stopper to the bead mat. Okay, now I'm going to go down the other side of my wire guardian. Back through the crimp tube. Make sure to keep your wires from being crossed. Try to hold them apart. I'm going to squish in my little wire guardian just a little bit. It just kind of helps keep it straight when you crimp. And you don't want to let your wires be crossed, because if they are, they won't land in. You want to get them, when you crimp them, they are supposed to be each in their own individual channel, and if they're crossed, that won't happen, and it will be more likely to make your crimp fail. Now I'm going to go on the part here that's got the little tooth on one side. And I have discovered with these Xuron 4-in-1 crimpers, you get a better crimp if you put the tooth on the top. I don't know why that is, but if you put the tooth on the top here when you put it in there, you get a better looking crimp when you're done. I'm going to lay that in there and squeeze. That puts each little wire in its own little channel there. And now there's 3 circular parts at the end here. The one closest to the tip is for 1mm crimp tubes, and the middle one is for 2mm, and the next one is for 3mm, and I'm using 2, so I'm going to go in that middle one there. I'll lay my crimp in there. Squeeze. Fold the crimp. Then I'm going to go down to the one that's for 1mm and squeeze again. Now I'm going to tug. That's good. So now I'm going to cut off my wire. Extra wire. Now I'm going to go to this side. Do the same thing. I'm going to put my crimp on here. Put my wire guardian on. Go through the other side of my wire guardian. Back through my crimp. Squish in my little wire guardian. And on this side, I try to go through a bead or two to get my hands out of the way. Keep my wires from being crossed. Hold on to my wire guardian and pull the wire down. I want to make sure there's no slack in my piece, but I don't want it to be too tight because I want it to be able to drape well. Now I'm going to go in with my crimpers and put my little tooth on top. Squeeze. Now I'm going to go into that second circular part. Squeeze. And go down to the first part and squeeze. I don't know what I did to that, but it was wrong. I'll have to try this again. Give me another crimp tube out here. Now let's try this again. I'm going to put my crimp tube on. Put my wire guardian on. Something happened when I tried to fold it that messed everything up. Go through the other channel of my crimp, or my wire guardian. Back through my crimp tube. possible I might have had my wires crossed. Might have been what it was. I'm gonna go through a bead here. Pull my wire through. Make sure nothing's crossed here. Make sure I don't have any slack, but I don't want it too tight. I'm going to put my little tooth on top. I could get my hands out of the way, but my hands are in the way. Okay, now I'm going to put my little tooth on top. Squeeze. Now I'm going to go in that second part of the circular parts. Squeeze. Then go down to the next one and squeeze. Tug. Okay, we're all right this time. I think I got my wires crossed that last time. Now I'm going to cut off my extra wire. There's my second strand. No, that's my first strand. Took so long I thought it was my second strand. Now I'm going to crimp the second strand off camera and I'll be back. Okay, I've got both sides strung now, and now all I have to do is put it together. So I'm going to take my chain nose pliers and my bent chain nose pliers. And open up my jump ring that I have my focal attached to here. And I'll put this side on this side. This side on this side. Close it up. Now I'm going to come down here, and I've got a couple of pieces of the chain. These are about 3.5 inches each. And 2 of the oval jump rings that came in the box. Open up my jump ring, thread on my necklace, thread on my chain. Do the same thing on this side. Okay, now I'm going to go down here. Take another one of my oval jump rings. Open it up. Huh. Jump rings keep jumping out of my hands. and my lobster clasp. And now on this side I've got an 8mm jump ring. Put my extender chain on here. Well, this is about 2 inches of extender chain. That's what I've got now. Now I'm going to get my stuff together here and make a little dangle to go off the end of the extender chain. I'll be back. Okay, I've got a little ball head pin here. Now I'm going to take one of my bicones and take my pliers, go to the tip of the pliers, bend at a 90-degree angle, around those pliers and put them in the crook of the bend, around those pliers facing me. Bend the wire back until it hits the bead. Rotate the pliers till they're facing the table. Take this part under here until it hits the bottom of the tool. Cock the wire back until the loop is centered over the bead. I'm going to open my loop. I'm not going to forget this time. I usually forget to do that. Put my end of my extender chain on. Close my loop. Take my bent chain nose pliers and hold on to my loop. Take my other pair of bent chain nose pliers. Start my wraps. Get that wrap good and tight, first wrap. Keep wrapping until there's no more room to wrap. Cut off my extra wire. Take my crimping pliers and squish in a little burr. There's my little dangle. Now I'm going to get my stuff together and make a little pair of earrings. So I'll be back. Okay, I'm going to make an earring now. And I don't know what I was thinking. I had those lever back ear wires out. Completely forgot about these really pretty ear wires that came in the box. So I've switched them. I'm going to use these pretty ones that came in the box. And I had some bicones and fire polish beads I was going to use for my earrings, but I've decided not to do that. I'm going to keep them more simple. So I've got one of the head pins that came in the box. I'm going to put on my bead cap, 8mm bead, and my bead cap. I'm going to make a simple loop for this, so I'm going to go just a little bit above the bead so that I don't crack my bead. My bead cap's trying to stick to my pliers. Go a little bit above the bead there. I gotta be careful, I can't crack this bead. I only have these two left. Bend at a 90-degree angle. And I'm going to take my cutters and cut off and leave about a 1/4 of an inch of pin. I'm going to hold this end here so it doesn't go flying like that one did a while ago. I'm going to take my round nose pliers, go to the end of the pin here, make sure there's none sticking out. Start rolling back a loop. Make sure to get my loop closed really well. Okay, so now I'm going to take my piece of German style wire, go down about 1.5 inches, bend it over the tool at a 90-degree angle, put my round nose pliers in the crook of the bend, round nose pliers facing me, bend the wire back until it hits the tool, rotate the pliers till they're facing the table, take the shorter piece and under until it hits the bottom of the tool, cock it back until the loop is centered over the wire. Take my bent chain nose pliers and hold on to my loop. Wrap the shorter piece around the longer piece about 3 times. Take my cutters, cut off the extra wire. I'm going to take my flower, take my pliers, go to the end of the tip of the pliers, bend at a 90-degree angle, round nose pliers, put them in the crook of the bend, round nose pliers facing me, bend the wire back until it hits the bead, rotate the pliers till they're facing the table, take this part in under here until it hits the bottom of the tool, cock the wire back until the loop is centered over the bead, take my bent chain nose pliers, my other bent chain nose pliers, start wrapping. Get that first wrap really good and tight. Just keep wrapping until there's no more room to wrap. I'm going to cut off my extra wire. Take my crimping pliers and tuck in my little burrs. I'm going to open this loop. Thread on my flower. Close my loop back up. Make sure it's closed well. Now I'm going to take my ear wire. And I've never had an ear wire like this, but I'm certain that it opens. There we go. Thread on my little flower. Close it back up. Got a pretty little earring with that pretty little ear wire. So hold on, I'll make the other one off camera and then I'll be back. Okay, there we go. An asymmetrical necklace made with the latest Potomac beads subscription box, the Treasure Edition. Like I said, I'll leave a link in the description box below that will take you directly to the subscription page in case you want to check it out and see if it's something you might want to do. I hope you all have enjoyed this video. As always, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate those of you who have subscribed to my channel and watched my videos and liked and commented on my videos. I have a website where I sell my jewelry. It's Teresa's Handmade Jewelry, and I'll put a link to it in the description box below in case you're interested, along with a link to my Facebook and Instagram and my email. And speaking of my Facebook, I was over there today and I noticed that somebody had posted a question and I did not know it. It was like 5 days old, and it's just hit or miss whether or not Facebook sends me notifications. Sometimes they do, it does, sometimes it doesn't. It drives me crazy. But if you all ever post anything and I don't respond, it's not that I'm ignoring you. I would never do that. It's just that I don't know it's there. But the question was is it okay to post pictures of the things you all make on my page? And it is absolutely okay. I really want to see the things you all make. I enjoy seeing the things you all make. So please always post if you want to. If you want to post the things you make, that would really make me happy. I would really enjoy that. If you haven't, I would really love it if you would subscribe and hit the notification bell so you're notified when I upload a new video. So until next time, hope y'all have a great day. Take care.